Well, I thought it was about time to introduce my dad's 2014 FJ Cruiser to the YouTube channel. This truck has an interesting story behind it. I actually almost bought this about 7-8 months ago when I was looking at getting something that was good for road trips, off-road, hauling around more things, and I ended up actually buying the Lexus GX. I looked at this exact FJ, and then maybe about 4 or 5 months later, the owner traded it in for a new truck. And we bought it from the dealership at a considerably lower price, which worked out pretty well. Actually, my dad bought it. And we're going to have some fun with this thing this year. I think it's got enough stuff on it to take us off-road. We have a winch, some LED lights, a snorkel, an old man emu 3-inch lift, underplating, 33-inch tires, BFG KO2s. I will say in the snow and the ice, they're pretty hard and they're pretty sketchy, honestly. But in the dirt and the mud, they should be just fine. Lots of goodies on this FJ. Previous owner did all the mods, and all we did was we undercoated it. We took it to Crown Rust Control, got that taken care of so that the salt doesn't bother it. And we replaced some front sway bar bushings that were worn. I think this platform just eats front sway bar bushings, and there's really not a whole lot you can do about it. But otherwise, man, this thing is solid. It has 40,000 miles on it. It's a very low mileage 2014 FJ Cruiser. It's been pretty extensively modified. It looks like crap right now because it's all covered in salty, but underneath all that salt is a really, really clean truck. It's been lightly off-roaded throughout its life, but most of it was built to be kind of an overland vehicle and a road trip hauler. Lots of goodies in here. You've got the switches and the controls for the lights. I've always enjoyed FJ Cruisers for their little quirks, like the 3 windshield wipers and the strange reverse camera that shows up in the mirror that you can't really see a whole lot with. It is pretty limited visibility, just like any other FJ, but let's take this for a drive and give you guys kind of an intro on what this is like to drive on the road. Then later this year, we'll take it out to the dunes, maybe an off-road park like Bundy or Mounds here in Michigan, and have a little bit of fun with this, because I think owning this, it would be a shame just to drive it on the road. We should put it to use for the purpose that it was built for. It also has a Trd intake and exhaust. You can hear a slightly louder growl. The V6 back there. Actually sounds pretty good. I will say that when you compare driving this to a stock FJ Cruiser, there's considerably more weight here to haul around. You can feel it on the brakes, you can feel it on the suspension. The ride quality is incredible. It's very, very good over bumps, but ultimately it does feel a little bit, just a little bit more weighty with all the extra steel bits and parts that are bolted onto this thing. Past 55 miles an hour, so you also hear a little bit of a whistling from the light bars up top. Anywhere you get thin gaps on the roofline, you tend to get a little bit of noise. That said, though, it's not too bad, and this truck also has a considerable amount of soundproofing in it. To me, it kind of feels like it's stock, but basically the previous owner did pretty much every mod he could think of to this thing, and then he sold it. My dad's been daily driving this for about 3 or 4 months now. He absolutely loves it. He's always wanted an FJ Cruiser with a winch, and he finally got one. We were shopping FJs for quite a while a few years ago, and ultimately my mom kind of nipped the decision in the bud and decided that she didn't like them. But she kind of came around and decided that maybe it's not the worst thing in the world to drive an FJ Cruiser. And now, if she can actually make it up into this thing, she likes driving it. As a car enthusiast, I never thought that my parents would have a cooler fleet of vehicles than I do, but here I am. They have 2 Miatas, this FJ, and a couple of Volvos. And, I don't know, it makes for a pretty good garage, in my opinion. Now, FJs are usually pretty fun vehicles to drive. They're different. It's not like your Toyota 4Runner. It's just a little bit more lively, shorter wheelbase, and a little bit more off-road capability. But still, they have pretty good manners on-road, and this pretty much stays true to that nature. It's maybe a little bit more cumbersome because of the extra modifications, but with the old man EMU 3-inch lift, it rides really, really well. You barely feel the bumps, even on E-rated tires. And there's a really impressive amount of ground clearance. Kind of gives you the feeling that you can pretty much go over anything you want to. However, in the snow, I think we're a little bit limited by traction with how old these tires are. One thing I do appreciate with this FJ is that you can completely disable traction control. Just hold the button for a few seconds, and you're off. I honestly think these tires would do okay in deep snow. It's just, once you see some ice, there is not a lot of siping, and as a result, not a lot of traction. I do like how simple these FJ Cruisers are. It's a blessing and a curse. There's less to go wrong. It feels more utilitarian, and it's kind of cool to have a vehicle without all the modern distractions that so many new cars have. This was a 2014, the last model year. It has big knobs for radio, and a pretty simple cabin layout, similar to a lot of Toyotas of this generation and of this era, and even still. And it's interesting how the values on these FJs have stayed so true over, since they started being produced in 2007. The early models have fallen down a little bit on pricing, but ultimately they really do have, I think, probably the highest value of any newer vehicle under $50,000. It's pretty amazing. Probably the next best thing would be a 1 Series M Coupe, and it's so hard to find those things, but these FJs are so commonplace. They made so many of them that they're really pretty easy to find and easy to source. There isn't a whole lot in the way of nimble handling. It does okay. It's definitely better than, I'd probably say it's more livable and has better road manners than a Jeep. But ultimately, it's not their Lexus GX460 on the pavement, that's for sure. Just an example here, we're on some ice in rear-wheel drive. Very, very little traction out of this driveway entrance. This is about as fast as I can go. let's take this on the highway and see how it does. Does sound really good with that exhaust. But once you get on the highway, there's no drone. Pretty quiet. Settles into top gear there, 5th gear, and you're pretty good to go. Fuel economy is horrendous. We haven't even calculated what it is. It's probably something close to about 12, 13 miles to the gallon, maybe less around the city, which is how it mostly gets driven. The saving grace, though, is that it does take regular fuel. You don't need to put premium in these 2014s. Alright guys, well, that's it for the new FJ. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, but really this is kind of just an introductory video to show you what this thing is all about and kind of tease for some future fun that we're going to have. And as the Raptor goes by, we're going to take it to the dunes someday. We have to. And we're definitely going to be taking it to either Bundy or Mounds Off-Road Park sometime in the spring. We'll definitely be having some fun with this year. Thanks for tuning in again, guys. Happy New Year. We'll see you in another video soon. Take care.